Hello everybody and welcome to the very latest CADS chat. We're here to talk about all the things that went right, all the things that went wrong, how Spurs were crap at failing at defending corners, crap at navigating the game poorly, crap at not scoring goals from out the box. We were crap at all of the really negative things. We had a really good game, and I'm here with some of the boys to talk about it. I've got a bumper group tonight. A bumper group. I don't think we've ever had this many people on here. We've got 7 people in total. So we're going to start with the person to my immediate right as I look at it. Hello, Ash. How you doing?
Great, thank you. Lovely game yesterday. I'd love to talk about our centre-back pairing, which I think is up to Toby and Jan's quality. Bissouma must have got a rocket and a hug. Our 2 number 8s, Decky and Matters, and then our 2 wingers to varying degrees of success, but 2 pacey wingers. I think those were all key ingredients in that lovely game yesterday.
Charlie, how you doing?
I'm good. Everything's good. It's it's all good. It was good last week as well. Nothing's really changed.
Not much changed.
Nothing's much has changed, to be honest. And I think you'll hear that from a lot of the boys if you look at listen to the interviews. Some of them are saying, listen, nothing really changed. We just put the ball in the back of the net. So, I'm pretty much as I was last year. Everything's on course, I'd say. Yeah. So from a Spurs perspective, it's good. Sun's shining. California's great. Isn't it, Ash? Wonderful.
It is.
Wonderful to be an American.
Well, Perry, by not showing off.
Austin, how you doing?
I was all right until they talked about sunshine. It's pissing down outside.
It's really sunny here, Art. All the time.
I do hate smugness. It's not an attractive.
So there's nothing smug about it. It was a little weather report.
Weather report. The weather reports Charlie, we rely on at the start of his CADS chats. Just for you, Austin. It's lovely weather here in Paris as well. Steve, welcome. First timer. How you doing?
I'm well. Thanks for having me, gents. And my takeaway from yesterday, I only got to watch the first half, but Kulu looked like the player he looked like when we first got him from Juve to me yesterday. He was amazing on the ball. And I think that first goal, as much as Bissouma made a fantastic strike, had to do with Kulu setting him up, and that just set the whole tone for the whole game for me.
Yeah, in my little thing about Spurs are crap, the other thing we were crap at was not scoring goals from the outside of the box. So that was fun as well. Sam, how you doing?
I'm good, thanks, mate. Thanks for having me back. Solid performance yesterday. It was probably the result that we were hoping for after the first half against Leicester on Monday. But yeah, very strong performance. It was good to see Odegaard getting a debut. I thought he was really good in the first half. He kind of faded in the second half. I think he's maybe not quite fit enough yet for Ange Ball, but he looked really promising. And yeah, all of our players, with the exception of, in my opinion, Brennan Johnson, I thought had really good games. So that puts us in a good place going into some tricky fixtures.
Okay, and finally, our capital fella, our man of mystery, our bold index guy. How you doing, A?
Hey, how you doing? Oh, it's good.
Welcome back. It's good when Spurs win, isn't it? Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh,
all is right in the world.
So,
and props to the guys last week. All of them call for Decky in the team. And just shows we know the onions.
Yeah, I have to say, I thought it was a fairly brave move, I'll be honest, because I didn't expect Son to be going through the centre.
Excuse me, guys.
The way this team... Oh, you are excused, but you must come back later. Okay, so yeah, I wasn't really expecting Son to be going through the centre after we'd seen Decky do it throughout pre-season. I thought it's just set up to play that way. But then it's kind of like, well, where do the pieces fit elsewhere? You've got Johnson, you've got Odegaard, you've got Son, you've got to fit all of these players in somewhere. So like the only other thing I could see was maybe playing Odegaard in midfield. But let's start with him. As Sam said, I thought he had a really, really bright start. I thought it was potentially a bit late to take him off. He should have come off a bit before because he'd started to make mistakes and lose the ball a little bit too often. But wow, it was so good to have a dribbly boy winger on the pitch that could actually go past people. Anyone got
I think we were saying last week, right, that our wingers didn't have a very good game on Monday night. And we've gone out and bought this tricky winger, and after like 30 seconds, he was already taking people on the inside, on the outside, and they didn't know what to do with it. I actually thought their right back had quite a good game. I'd never heard of him before. But I think he was they've got a lot of injuries right back. I think so. I think he was. Don't know if it was his debut too, but I thought their right back did okay. But Odegaard he was really, really positive, and he was dragging in an additional defender or midfielder, and that was creating a lot of space for our other players. So very positive debut, I thought.
Yeah,
I just got a quick thing to add about that. Yes, I think we all agree on Odegaard, and I got nothing to add on that. But somebody made a mention of something interesting, because there's going to be a lot of slagging of BJ, but his speed and the threat of his speed actually gave us something. And I think also even just the threat, even though he might not have done a lot with that threat, actually helped us with having. I don't think we've ever had two pacing wingers before. Maybe when Lennon and Bale were both playing, perhaps
and Lennon, yeah,
a long time ago. That's 12 years ago or something, So even if hopefully BJ can get his game up, because to have two pacing wingers like that is fantastic.
Yeah, Brennan, I thought, was good on one side of the game. Defensively, he was absolutely fine. He, put in a shift, made a few tackles. But attacking-wise, again, we're not seeing the best of him yet. I'm starting to think we may need to give the boy a rest and let him maybe just take some of the pressure off his shoulders a little bit, because I don't think he's doing too well with it right now. And we've got Odegaard, who does play down the right as well, so we can absolutely do that.
And then put Sonny back out left and put either Richarlison or Solanke in the middle. Is that what you're suggesting?
Yeah, absolutely. I don't see why we should continue playing Sonny through the middle. It's not a long-term answer for me. He's a great player, but I definitely prefer him down the left. Steve, first time here. What did you think of the game? What did you like? What didn't you like?
Well, thank you for asking. I thought there was a lot to like. Again, I only got to watch the first half and highlights the second. I thought that there was a lot to like, especially after what I felt like was an undeserved draw for us on Monday night. And recovering. So that's the first thing I'd say that I liked, is that we recovered well. Right from the first whistle, we took the game right to Everton. We didn't, and as it became evident to me, they were intent on just basically sitting in the last 18 and inviting us to break them down, and we did. So a lot of attack, a lot of possession with the ball. Did not see in the first half some of the things that I saw in the Leicester game, for example. We always talk about how the way Ange presses, that if you do get caught, you're going to leave acres of space in the back. I didn't see a lot of that in the first half, and I appreciated that. And then the other thing I would say is, they didn't seem to let up, as I think sometimes in games at the end of last year, especially when I felt like we were winning, or, we didn't let a goal in. The clean sheet was impressive, even though it's Everton. And I kind of think that this may be the year they go down, unfortunately for them. I kind of like that club. But all things considered, 4-0 at home, first game at home of the year. I don't think there was a lot to complain about yesterday. But there's some things I think when we play City and we play Arsenal that we still may not have solved it, and that worries me. yet.
I thought defensively we were pretty solid, but I mean, you've got the caveat of it was Everton. They got massive injury issues, and as you said, I think this may well be the year. It's just a year too far for them, which is really difficult because they've got their new stadium opening next season.
Yeah.
No.
And if they go down and are opening that in the Championship, they're going to find life very difficult. It's going to be tough for them.
I think they may sink like a stone if they go down this year with the weight of that new stadium on their backs. Yeah.
I think it depends who comes in as their new owner. I mean, I know John Textor is trying to free himself up from his Crystal Palace chains so that he can do it. But yeah, there's a lot of responsibility on whoever takes over there. Charlie, you said you were happy earlier. Tell me what made you happy.
Well, I'm really happy with the overall project of what's going on. I mean, I just see a bench that's full of people that I'm excited to see come on, which was different to last year where we were sort of struggling for impact players. Although I will say Johnson was probably the best impact player we had last year, and yet he seems to have gravitated into that right wing role as his own, and seems to, with sort of impunity, sort of play however he wants. That may be a little bit harsh, but I know he's definitely lacking in confidence. You can just see in his body language when he there was a moment yesterday where the ball just basically ran away from him, and he was in a promising position on the right, and he almost didn't react at that point. Like, he's done it so many times in the past few games, he didn't react. And I don't want to beat on a guy because I was a sportsman. I've been in a situation where you can have a drop in confidence, and it's brutal. The best thing to do, I feel, is just to let him come on for 20, 25 minutes. If we're chasing a game at some point in the next sort of 3 or 4, he may come on and may make an impact. And I just feel right now that is his best position. And to be honest, I would be shocked if, like you guys just said earlier, that he doesn't make way for Odeberg on the right-hand side with Sonny on the left and Solanke coming down the middle, because Odeberg definitely is that. He's kind of what I thought Johnson was. I thought Johnson was a little bit more tricky, a little bit more goal hungry than I guess he is. The big one from yesterday was Everton is, honestly, when I see Everton come up as a fixture, I have no fear whatsoever that we're going to beat them. And I can't say that for everyone. I couldn't say that for Leicester the other day. It was by mate. I couldn't say that for Leicester last week. Everton, we clearly showed them no respect by playing Kulusevski and Maddison in that 10 role, or whether what Kulusevski was up to. It was very, very fluid up the top. I couldn't quite see what was going on, which was, again, a beautiful thing to see. The fluidity, the fact that Maddison and Kulusevski can play next to each other, and still have another right winger as well. So it is really interesting. I can't imagine we're going to set up like that, long term. I just felt that was just, we're going to attack them from the off. Attack will be the best form of defense, and it really was that way from the word go. And I thought that was quite enterprising, quite Ange.
That point on Kulusevski was going to be my next point. It was really good to see him playing in a really pivotal role for us, but against bigger sides, against harder sides, do we think that's a balance that's going to work?
Well, I'm still very torn with Maddison until he starts turning up in big games. For me, Kulusevski is the better option in that slot. I feel like he has more poise. Maddison yesterday, everyone's sort of raving about him a little bit. I still don't think he really did that well. I mean, the Maddison that I remember was very influential in games, even for us beginning of last season, certainly for Leicester in patches. And I don't want us to set the bar low for Maddison. There's a very high bar for a player of that quality, and I just, like with Johnson, I feel like his position is almost somewhat guaranteed at this point. That's the only thing I have concerns about in this team, is maybe the fact that we haven't got a solid six. But I will say that the wider concern for me is that Maddison seems to be undroppable, and Brennan Johnson is seemingly on like this sort of, I don't know what he's getting up to with Ange. My guys' thoughts. But like he's keeping that position as his own, and he really isn't performing. It's really not his best role. His best role is off the bench, and it's no shame to say that.
Ange seems to
No,
love him. There's something. It's strange, isn't it, that he is starting every single game, and even last year he started a lot of games when he was poor. But sorry, just going back to your point on the fact that we're playing that very, very attacking lineup. We do actually have a precedent for that. I don't know if you guys remember last season when we played Man City away, when we had loads and loads of injuries. We played a super attacking lineup there when we drew 3-3. I think there was Lo Celso, Hill, there was Kulusevski in midfield, Johnson, Son, and Bissouma. So it kind of looked like yesterday's lineup against Leicester. But I think it's interesting that we can play these attacking lineups against teams that we know are going to sit back and defend deep against us in. I think it's, an interesting sort of tactical tweak. And I'd much rather see that against these low block teams than seeing someone like Sarr starting, who's not going to be progressing the ball that quickly up the pitch. And Kulusevski gives us, a lot of significant goal threat, basically, that someone like Sarr doesn't give us. So it's interesting. I really like that, the attacking lineup, and hopefully it's something that we'll see repeated soon.
Yeah, you just mentioned that if we're playing these stronger teams, we're not going to be as open as we were yesterday, which is basically leaving Bissouma to defend the back four, although he did a terrific job. Because we're playing with 2 number 8s or 2 number 10s, as Charlie said. I think we'll do that, which is great for Ange. He's being a little bit more flexible in his strategy and tactics, that he's actually going, okay, for this game, we can do this. For this next game, we may bring Bentancur back in alongside Bissouma, and then Maddison or maybe Decky as well. So I'm liking some of the...
Maybe insert new signing here.
Oh, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
Yeah, Brennan Johnson, I think Ange talked about him many times last season and said he was supposed to be coming in and playing a substitute role, coming off the bench and making that difference against tired legs. So I think maybe that's what he's expecting, to be able to use him in the future, which is potentially why we brought in Audebert. Let's hope that's the way it works out, because I don't think...
Positively speaking, Stu, positively speaking, I do think that there is a move to make Kulusevski more influential in the games, and I think that's only a positive thing. Like on the right wing, I mean, there was a moment yesterday on the right wing where you look at him just going like, oh my god, he's brilliant on the right wing. Like he is genuinely good, but he is, clearly has more of effect on the game when he's in the center. I mean, like I'm buoyed by the fact that Brennan Johnson is keeping that role on the right-hand side, because it tells me that he wants Kulusevski in the middle. That probably is that solution to the number 10 situation that I keep on bringing up, which I don't think Maddison is necessarily the stonewall pick for. I genuinely think that Ange looks at Kulusevski and goes, I am willing to play Brennan Johnson, put Decky on the bench to play Brennan Johnson, because I want to bring Decky on in the middle at some point and, have him exclusively focus on a central role. That looks like what's going on to me right now.
I think the interesting thing we saw earlier on... Sorry, Austin. I think the interesting thing we saw in the Leicester game is when we started with Maddison, our left-hand side was like the focal point of our game, because everything was going through Maddison. It was all there.
Yeah.
And then when Maddison came off and Bergvall came on, everything was going down the right-hand side, because that's where Bergvall seemed to get most of the ball and he was dictating play from there. But when we had Maddison and Kulusevski, you didn't know which way it was going. It could go left, it could go right. And I think the interesting thing with Maddison from this game is, if you were to name the top 4-5 players in the Spurs side, would Maddison be in there? He wouldn't be in that list of top 4 for me.
No, I thought he was very good yesterday, and I think because
I thought he was
Romero,
good, but I didn't think he was top 4, top 5 players.
So okay, so who were the top 4 then? Because I think Romero scored, right? So I don't know if Romero's in your list, but I think because
Romero definitely
I wouldn't
be in the list.
put him as a top
Romero
4
was
just
excellent.
because he scored a goal.
No, I thought he was excellent defensively. I thought he scored a goal. He could have scored two, could have had 2 assists. I thought he was really, really good overall. I put his partner, Mickey, next to him as well because he was so good. He also made a goal with a barnstorming run, which I know grabs the eye and gets a lot of people talking about, but he was really good throughout that game. Then who else? Pedro Porro, I thought was really solid. Actually started crossing first time as well for at least twice in that game. I mean, I sent a message to David Weeks saying, you must be really enjoying this because Pedro Porro's crossing first time. He said, this is what I want from him. Sadly, David couldn't make us tonight, but maybe for the next one. Who else? Sonny, of course. You got to have Sonny in there.
You got to have Odegaard probably.
Odegaard as well, yeah.
Bissouma? Does anyone mention Bissouma yet?
No, I did. I said Bissouma, yeah.
Oh, sorry, yeah, Bissouma.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I don't know. I still think he was good.
Madison
and
down
great
to what, 7th?
Yeah, maybe. No, but the good thing is we do have options, right? We've got Kulusevski who can come on instead of Madison. We've got Bergvall. So I think that's a change compared to last year, right? We've got these additional players that can come in and make a difference. So if Madison is being is having a big influence in the first half, but then sort of tails off a bit, then there are other people that can come in and take his place.
So where is Madison on the top 10 then?
A lot of freedom.
Where is Madison?
What was that, Charlie?
Okay, where is Madison on the top? Sorry, you go ahead, buddy.
Okay. I thought, the thing that I liked the most was the unpredictability of our team. And we watched Spurs week in, week out. We looked at that team sheet and it took us a second. And you got to think that the opposition is going to have a nightmare trying to figure out who's going to play where and how they're going to play. And I think that also buys a little time for our guys on the ball. And I think we made the most of it. So, yes, I think it was a great team effort. And I like the fact that we're so unpredictable because, man, we were predictable last year. Everybody knew what we were going to do. And just having a winger that can go left or right, we could have Sonny through the middle or the left. There were so many options. Two 8s/10s that could dovetail with each other, and that's a nightmare to defend. And I love to see it. So yeah, that's my take from it.
Yeah,
I love the unpredictability.
I'm nodding along furiously with you there, because what you're saying is absolutely on point. The more I hear about like subscription to Ange's methods, I mean, Madison talked about it yesterday. We just really need to trust the manager more. I still don't think we're where we need to be, but what I saw yesterday was a sort of almost like a controlled chaos that was very, very hard to pick up. I feel like there's a letting go to that idea that just allow the flow of the whole chaotic thing to just be and trust it. And when teams get us on the back foot a little bit, like Leicester did for a period in that second half last week, we get a little tight, we get a little rigid, and that's the antithesis of that flow. What I saw yesterday, I mean, granted it's against Everton, and again I would say that I literally have no fear of Everton ever, and it felt like the crowd got that as well, and we were gonna slaughter them yesterday, regardless. From the first 2 minutes, I felt like it was a 4-0. But that controlled flow, that flow and that chaos, I think, was on display yesterday, and it really was a joy to see. Yeah.
I think we've got to take into consideration that the team hasn't gelled yet properly because the two centre-backs have only just come back, so they've only had 2 games to play and a half game against Bayern. Udogie's just come back. Odegaard is brand new to the side, and I think there's a getting to know each other scenario going on at the moment. I think some of the football we played in the first half I thought was absolutely fabulous. There was some really good one-touch, really intricate play. I thought Decky was the best I've seen him for probably since the early part of his time with us. And his ability to go past players is something that not many people have. But I think we're in the I still think we're in the sort of early stages of something. I think we're going to get better. especially with Archie Gray and Lucas Bergvall, who I think are absolutely terrific players. I think our recruitment has been fantastic.
Mm-hmm. Austin, I just want to say just real quick, like I can tell that Maddison is playing with two players right up his ass right now. You've got Kulusevski and you've got Bergvall, who are both vying for a position. He has no place anymore to be complacent. I don't think. And it's same with Brennan Johnson. Like I think you'll see as the sort of next few games unfold that everybody's playing for their place, and I think that's just such a great thing we haven't seen really at Tottenham for. I can't even remember, to be honest.
No, I think you're right.
Yeah, I think there's only one player who at the moment doesn't have genuine competition for their place, and that's Destiny Udogie. I don't think there's anybody else who can play that inverted left back role.
So you don't think Jed Spence can play it?
Yeah, I think so too. And he was playing it.
No.
And as I said before,
he came on and he played it, but he didn't. He's not the same.
It's a midfielder role
It's
anyway.
difficult to be the same.
It's not actually a fullback role. It's a midfielder role anyway, you know. So he could fit into it. He
Basically,
could.
yeah.
Well, we have to see, of course, you know.
It seems
Yeah,
as though
in regards to Kulusevski,
Like Mickey,
in
I think
regards
Mickey's
to
position.
Kulusevski, there were times. Mickey, no, I think we've got him covered. I mean, you just saw when he did his knee yesterday, and wow, was I glad to see him come back on. You know, we had Dragusin warming up, looking ready to go, and he's played on the left. I think he's a suitable standard. He's not ideal, not 100% ideal, but he'll do more than a decent job, I'm sure. In regards to Kulusevski, there were many times last season we were all singing his praises because of how good he'd been, and then there was like a wall that he seemed to hit. It just didn't work for him towards the end of the season.
I think where Charlie has it spot on, and a few others about him playing in the middle, is on the wing. He has the ability to beat the man, but he doesn't have the pace to take advantage of it. Whereas in the midfield, if you beat the man, there's space in front of you immediately that you don't necessarily have to run down a wing. You know, it's space to create something with the entire pitch in front of you, if on the width of the pitch, if you like. And I think that suits him really nicely. I just love the competition for places. It's making a huge difference, and it's a big change from last year.
Hey, let me just say, I don't think Decky had any competition last year. It didn't feel like, and that's when he had that drop off in form. I mean, you could say that Brennan Johnson was his competition, sure, but like, I didn't feel like it. You know, I just felt like he was so much was relied upon with Decky last year. I just don't feel like he, you know, like with any player, they can then gauge their own levels. They haven't got someone up their ass sort of pushing them for a place.
Yeah, I'm talking more about the competition for Madison, 10, 8, that sort of area. But
I genuinely think
apparently Kulu is the second fastest player at the club. It goes Mickey van der Ven and then Kulu, but it's acceleration that counts. Kulu does not have acceleration. He's quick once he gets up to speed, but it takes a bit of time to get there.
But his ability to beat a man with his close control, as Charlie had said, you know, sometimes he's got two guys around him and he beats them just with those deft feet of his. And then as A just said, because he can't actually accelerate past them, which in the middle he can, which is great. You know, yeah, we found a place for him maybe.
Which of course led to our first goal yesterday with Bissouma.
Yeah.
How are we feeling about Bissouma's immediate return to the squad?
Terrific. I mean,
Kulusevski's. Go ahead.
He got I'll just quickly. As I said, repeat. He got a rocket from Ange, and then I'm sure he got a hug as well. And you know, even the way he was celebrating with the fans afterwards. If this helps him get back to where he was when we have seen him, it'll be a boon to our overall team, without a doubt. So, thumbs up that Bissouma got the right sort of motivation going forward.
I tell you what excites me about the team at the moment. There's an awful lot of pace in there. I mean, Johnson is fast, Odebear's fast, Udogie's fast, Porro's fast, Van de Ven is ridiculous, and we've actually got pace all over the pitch, which we haven't really had for quite a few years. Not since maybe the days of Defoe, Lennon, Bale. There was someone else as well that was fast in those days. I can't remember. But we've actually got a lot
Clinton
of
and
pace
G
in the
was
team.
fast.
Sorry?
Kyle Walker
Clinton
is the
and G
one.
was fast,
Walker,
but that's
yes.
about all he could do.
We're looking for Kyle Walker
Will
here.
Fox was really fast.
So is
Yeah.
Danny Rose. Anyway,
Yeah.
Fast
Yeah.
asleep.
Steve, let's let Steve talk because he's trying to say something.
I just wanted to say that the first goal, and I can't remember who was Kulusevski's balance, his ability to defeat tackles. I watched it and I felt frustrated for the Everton players in the run up for our first goal because I think he broke 3 tackles, and got himself into space and found Bissouma. And that to me was seeing him at what I think his best is, which is he attacks. If it's down the side, that's fantastic because he drew defenders to him with an amazing dribble. And then the layoff was just absolutely fantastic as well. So it's brains, it's balance. No, I agree. When you said he's the second fastest guy on the team, that shocked me. I wouldn't have guessed that. I've always kind of thought of him as slow, but absolutely brilliant on the ball when he's got it and he's not. He's frustrating the other side, which is what I saw yesterday.
The thing that still slightly worries me, that we've seen so many times in the past, is when we hit a patch of adversity, our heads can drop. And we didn't have that yesterday, so it's less of a concern. But I'm really looking forward to having a game where something goes wrong and the players immediately sort it out amongst themselves, and there's no dropping of heads and 10 to 15 minutes of us looking absolutely awful. So although it was great to see a 4-0 win, we were dominant pretty much throughout.
There was a phase, Stuart, towards the end of the first half where Everton had a series of corners and crosses into the box.
Yeah.
And I thought
Thanks,
we were
Steve.
pretty poor there.
We were
Yeah.
what? Sorry.
Because they were winning every single header, and that kind of reminded me of that game. I think it was Newcastle away last year where we conceded like 3 or 4 corners in a row, and Newcastle were getting their head to the ball on every single corner. And I know, again, it was only Everton, and Everton are terrible, but I do reckon that against a better team, we're going to concede goals. Something needs to change. I don't know if Vicario needs to start coming out and being a bit more aggressive, or we just need to work on something. But we look very, very weak and fragile, I think, on corners, set pieces.
Just one point, comparing the two games, we could have, if Pickford hadn't made that mistake, we could have gone into the second half 1-0 up, just like against Leicester, and the pressure could have been on us, and it might not have turned out 4-0. So we were very fortunate to get that goal, even though we had chances. So yeah, there is vulnerability there, obviously, because it could have gone the same way. 2 crappy teams holding out for 1-0, and then looking for a counter attack to either tie with us or actually sneak a winner. So it could have been that way too if Sonny hadn't got lucky on that Pickford blunder.
I think it's one of those cases where you make your own luck. Yeah. Was it luck, or was it like perseverance and something was going to work our way eventually? Romero had a good chance before that, so I think a second goal was coming.
Struggling to believe that Decky is faster than Son. I think we need to check that source. Whoever told you that, because that's Son at 32 years old, and I thought Pickford was in control of that ball. The speed at which Son got onto him was insane. I don't think there's anybody in the Premiership. I can't tell you another striker that could chase someone down like that. It was absolutely incredible to watch. It was great to see. Because
it was impressive.
It was fantastic. I don't think it was, I think Sam was saying, I don't think it was luck. I think that's the way that we play now. I think it was Arsenal last year where we hounded from the front and we got a goal. you know, that's part of our play. That's why we sign players like Oliberg. You know, because of that high press, and that it's just so great to watch the captain, 32-year-old captain, sort of chase down Pickford and rob him like that. It was just fantastic to watch.
It was, yes.
Yeah, I think
so the thing on.
Sorry,
go on.
Yeah, Ange mentioned it. He said that they realized that in their preparation for the game, that a lot of Everton's build-up play comes from Pickford, and he likes to take a touch. And it was a concerted effort that they were going to make to close him down in that area. So that's why I don't think it was down to luck. I think and if you look at the way Sonny pressed, he pressed from outside in. So he looked up, he had nobody in front of him, and then all of a sudden, Sonny's closing him down from an angle, and he moves it to his left foot, or he tries to move it to his left foot. So I think there's also some good analysis that's been done that it bodes well for the future. Game analysis is so important.
There were actually a number of times when Pickford was closed down by our players. I mean, that was the one time he actually got caught. But I did notice that on 3 or 4 occasions, we had players really going in on the charge when Pickford had the ball.
Yeah.
And that's one of the reasons why we bought Solanke, because it's one of the things he does extremely well. Yeah. So, you know, we'll be seeing more of that. And I think Solanke, if he'd been fit, would have been doing exactly that job. In regards to Kulusevski and his pace in the game, it was an interview he did with Spurs Play last year, and they were talking about Mickey van der Ven and how fast was he, and was there anyone who could keep up with him? And he personally said, I think I'm the one that gets closest. So, there you go. Maybe a bit of bias from him.
You remember
Defoe
was working with an American sprint coach to improve his acceleration off the mark in one of the off seasons, and he came back, and while he was always quick, he was quicker off the mark, and you know, that might be something we could look into. And then on another thing, yeah, I feel like Charlie and I are singing from the same hymn sheet today. I was going to mention the Arsenal game was the last time I think we were put under pressure, conceded, and then immediately hit back when nobody expected it. So I think that for me, that was the last time that we showed that resolve. And it was the time where we were playing with supreme confidence, and hopefully we get back there.
Yeah, I mean, can I just quickly...
We've got Newcastle coming up next. Yeah, go on, Charlie.
Sorry, Stu. It comes down to stakes, really, and building the stakes. That Arsenal game, the stakes were so high. We were in our own stadium. No, it was their stadium, wasn't it? Were we at their stadium? I think it was theirs, wasn't it? We drew 2-2.
It was theirs.
Super, super high stakes. North London derby. Yeah, I just feel that in general, the stakes at Spurs could be, as it running through the club, could be higher. I've spoken before about, you know, the cushiness that I think that we afford the players, you know, with the training ground, the hotels, and all these kind of things. But, you know, with teams like Chelsea, Man United, Man City now, obviously Arsenal, and Liverpool, there is an inherent stakes that run through the club that I think goes through the fans as well and picks people up by their ears when the chips are down. I would, again, love to see that outside of a North London derby or a high stakes game, like, you know, the Ajax game, for example, away at their place. Mm-hmm. You know, it's important to play for Spurs. You're playing for Spurs, you're playing for Tottenham, massive history, loads of great players, you know, and I think that will just build over time, but we do need consistency, and I hope that's with Ange.
Yeah, this is still a concern of mine because Ange has not been at any club for longer than 3 years, and he's only got another year on his contract after this one. So we're going to need that to change if we have a long-term run with him.
You don't think, Stu, that the long-term run is like the project right now? You don't think that Ange has been told that he's got 2 or 3 years here?
I hope he has, because that's what I want. I want to see a manager come in and have a long run and build a squad. And I think if you look at the players, the age and the profile of the players we're signing, you know, they're players who are going to be hitting their peak in 4, maybe 5 years' time. A lot of them. So with that, we've got a period of time there where we can actually build into something really good. And hopefully with some Manchester City issues, we could even jump over what they're going to be leaving behind? Because I don't see them surviving this. All these charges, they're going down.
Wow.
I'm reminded in our recruitment a bit of the Martin Yole days when we had that guy that was poached by Chelsea that brought in young players for us.
Mr. Frank Arneson.
Arneson.
Oh yeah, Frank
Arneson, that's right. Yes, it just seems
With
we've
our
got
Frankie
to
Fun Frankie Fun Fridays, as they were, I believe.
I don't know what he did for that to recruit players then. But I just think we've got the recruitment. The recruitment is looking absolutely shit hot. I mean, Bergvall, Gray, and Odebear are fabulous, and this young Korean kid we've got coming through. Not to mention the fact that we seem to have an under-21 squad that is actually producing players. We haven't seen Mikey Moore yet this season. Donnelly's gone out on loan. I think the Langshanks is going out on loan as well, from something I read this afternoon. But these players look like they're players that can come.
Langshanks.
Pretty sure Mel Gibson threw him out a window in Braveheart.
Yeah.
We're Lancashire, I think.
Yes, it is
Langshanks.
Forever, will forever be known as Lamshanks.
Well, have you seen the height of him? He's a big lad. He has got long legs.
He's a Lamshank.
Lamshanks it is now. He's not getting anything else from me.
Oh, dear me.
That's the title of this podcast. That's the title of this podcast. Lamshanks.
Yeah.
We've got it.
Lamshanks.
We do have, coming back to big ground again, we do have a very, very talented young group of players at the club. And if they grow together, going back to what we were talking about, consistency, our under-21s and our under-17s and our under-18s have won trophies in the last 3 or 4 years. So if those players come in and mingle, then the mentality of the club will be, I think, much more positive and much more able to withstand pressure.
Yep, agreed. I think just winning stuff at youth level is a nice bonus and builds a good habit. Obviously, we didn't win with the under-21s today, but we did win with the under-18s. So that was nice.
Yeah.
Okay, we've got less than a week now before the transfer window closes. How much business do we think is going to be done? There is space in the squad. I did a deep dive, which I posted on the CADS forum. We have, let me see, I think 13 players that are likely to be registered that are not termed as homegrown. 6 or 7 players that are termed as homegrown, and of course anyone under the age of 21 doesn't need to be registered for the Premier League squad. What do we think we're going to be doing?
Well, Ange has mentioned several times that he's expecting players to leave. So I imagine he's thinking about Lo Celso, Solomon. I don't know who else would leave.
Reguilon,
yeah.
Reguilon, yeah. Solomon's apparently going to Leeds.
Yeah. I can't imagine we're going to sign anyone unless there's a deal that's too good to turn down, I think. I mean, we've already spent... How much have we spent this transfer window? Like 140 million or something? I imagine we'll be keeping...
9 million, I think.
Yeah. I don't know. I can't see anyone coming in
Sam,
unless...
If anybody
unless
should be up on the
there's
numbers
amazing
and the
deal.
finances, it absolutely should be you here. Come on. You're our man for numbers and finances. I like a spreadsheet, but you're a professional at this.
I haven't added it all up, but we've spent a lot of money already this summer. We need to clear out the deadwoods. I think if there's a good deal to be had, then we'll go for it. If not, I'd be surprised if anyone else came in.
I'd quite like to see Hackney or Jacob Ramsey come in.
I would like another
Hackney is getting a lot of talk.
I would like another 6. Yeah, I'd like another 6.
I think Archie Gray is going to be our number 6, Sam.
I don't know. I haven't seen enough of him. I know he's promising, but I would like
He's more
somebody.
than promising.
to-
He's the real deal. He really is. I watched
Yeah.
him last year, and he's got such talent.
But last year he was playing as a right back, wasn't he, Austin?
He was playing as a right back. He played a couple of games in midfield, but his tackling is absolutely at times his tackles better than any young player I think I've ever seen. He is really, really good, and he also reads the game well. There's a bit of Michael Carrick about him. He sort of picks the ball up when it goes loose, and his distribution is absolutely superb.
So if there's a bit of Michael Carrick about him, about 40% of the Spurs fan base is going to think he's completely useless. Because when Carrick was here, so many people
were a bunch
were.
of wankers.
Wow, wading in.
We crucified Jermaine Genius. We've crucified so many players as fans. I mean, I get so frustrated with that fan base. Sorry about that. I was a little bit over the top, maybe calling them wankers. But
I think maybe we have an alternative title for the podcast now. Yes. It does seem that Spurs. It does seem that the fan base does like to have a whipping boy. I mean, Brennan Johnson seems to be front and centre for that at the moment.
Absolute hell at the moment. And
yeah,
I watched the game on Monday, and he had the best two chances. He took the ball on his chest, spun, and hit a volley that the keeper had to make a brilliant save. And he
Wasn't that Bentancur?
Sorry?
Wasn't that Bentancur?
It was Brennan. It was Brennan Johnson.
They said it was Bentancur in the commentary, yeah, but it wasn't.
Oh, did they? It was Johnson. And
it was a good shot. It was a good shot.
He hit a right foot shot from a volley that went straight across the goal and just missed. And I thought they're the best two chances we've had in terms of extra play. So he is going to get stick. It's already started. So I feel.
But the thing is that it's the onus on whoever starts on the right wing needs to be that certain player. Sorry about that. You know, again, I would not be surprised if we did. I feel like he has to go on the bench in order to get the best out of him. He's not arriving at the back post to pop in these, Werner-style, Son-style crosses that are splashing across the front. That's what he was great at last year. And similarly, from his own wing, he was putting crosses in, and I haven't necessarily seen that either. He's just going through a psychological dip, and I think it's probably because of the pressure of starting, to be honest.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, I don't think he's mentally set up for starting right now. I think he needs to have the pressure taken off him, bring someone else in who's going to be able to take that weight off him, and just bring him in as a sub against tiring legs, score a few goals, make a few chances, and suddenly that weight will lift and he'll feel a hell of a lot better about things.
Mm-hmm.
Just look at Gareth Bale when he started. It took him, 2 years before he got involved, really?
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying that Johnson's Gareth Bale, but...
The only thing
I remember Gareth Bale being brought on in the last minute of a game we were winning just to get rid of that curse, because up until then, every game he'd featured in, we'd lost. And they brought him in on like the 92nd minute of a game we were winning 3-1. So,
Redknapp did that on purpose. He did that on purpose. But it was a good call.
But the only thing I would say is that he's more senior than the guys that would take his place. If we're looking at Odegaard. So we're asking a more senior player to have more time with less responsibility than the youngster we're bringing in. And I don't think he should be scapegoated at all. Some people develop at different ages. It's just something that I've noticed, that maybe
he's still a young player. He's 23, 24 now?
No, he's 22.
Players go through, young players. It's just 22, right? So young players go through ups, they go through downs. It's not one simple linear movement. There's going to be ups, there's going to be downs, there's going to be improvement, there's going to be periods where he's not do so well.
Well, we're saying he's not ready to start, but the guy that we're probably going to replace him with is 2 years younger than him. That's the only thing I'm saying. And I take your point that it could just be in a cycle for him, but it's something I've noticed. That's about it. Nothing else. I think he's a promising player and he has the role to play, but he needs to get his stuff together.
it's not like we want him at the club. I don't think people. It's not that kind of whipping boy. Like I know that Emerson Royale kind of got that sort of treatment. Over the years, plenty of people have been given that treatment, and fans genuinely did not want them at the club. But I think with Johnson, you watch back on his Forest reels, like he was scoring goals from everywhere, coming in from that right wing. He just hasn't clicked yet, and it's probably stepping up to a bigger club, being asked to fulfill that entire right wing position, and he's just it's a lot for him, but he's a very good player. Like, and I don't know anyone who doesn't want him at the club.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Profile fit, I thought Gibbs White was better fit for us when we purchased him. I like Johnson a lot, by the way. I just thought if we're looking at profiles and analytics, I thought Gibbs is a Gibbs White.
Right, yeah.
Morgan Gibbs White, yeah.
Was a good fit for us. Yeah. He also seems to grab the game at the scruff of the neck, and he drags Forest through things. Kind of like that character,
Yeah.
I guess.
As opposed to ex-Arsenal, though, right? Ex-Arsenal.
Is he? Didn't think so.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Is he?
That changes everything. Screw him.
Every day's a school day.
Screw him.
So by the same thing, we wouldn't take Gnabry if he became available, because he's definitely ex-Arsenal.
No.
True.
No.
Well, he likes scoring at Tottenham Stadium, so maybe it is an idea.
Well, of course,
Let's
Dominic
just sign
Solanke
him
was an
to
Arsenal
avoid
fan
him
when he was a
scoring
child.
against us
So
every time we played Bayern.
Gibbs White was never Arsenal,
Yes.
by the way.
yeah,
Wasn't he?
I don't remember him being there.
Wasn't Arsenal, no. I've just Googled him.
He's
I
all
think
right
also
then.
so.
I changed my mind again.
And then we can sign him. He's allowed in. Yeah. Okay. Any other positions? Any other areas of concern that we need to be looking at for the end of the transfer window?
I'd actually quite like a goalkeeper that was commanding. I like Vic, but I just don't think he's commanding enough. And I'd like someone that was a bit of a thug, who'd go out, elbow people out of the way, and flatten them. And Vic's not that sort of player. He's a great shot stopper, but he's not a commanding keeper. And I'd like a commanding keeper.
So if Romero was a keeper, that's what you want.
Oh, if Romero was a keeper, I'd fucking marry him. I tell you.
Well, no. Look, we've got Charlie trying to get him to play number 6. Now we've got Austin who wants him to play as goalkeeper. This man can only play in one position at a time.
I want him on the right wing as well instead of that donkey Johnson.
Let's play him up front as well because he did really well. Proper aerial threat.
That was some header.
It was great. Really timed, and he really wanted to get there, didn't he? He went through two players to get there, so very nice.
So I think we've got a third contender for the caption now, the Donkeys Johnson.
I'll say it here now. I actually really like Brendan Johnson. I think we've got a real player on our hands there. I think he'd be all right.
I think he'll be fine long term. We just need to give him the chance to get past this blip. And then people will be going, oh, he's wonderful, he's amazing, he's scoring all his goals. This is a guy who got 15 goals and assists last season in his first season for us. You don't get that by luck. You get that by putting yourself in the right place at the right time and giving it what you got. And, he's a smart player as well. He may not be the best in terms of dribbling past people, but he's got a good head on those shoulders and he seems to understand the game. So
I think when he finds his place in the team, he's going to be really good. So a lot of promise for this lad, and I hope he makes it.
Of course, a lot of talk. He spent a lot of time at Nottingham Forest playing through the centre. He was playing as centre forward. So maybe there's a chance he could take over that role later on, but who knows? Okay, so we do have the transfer window closing. We will be doing a transfer special, which will be a long running one, probably for last time. I think it was 3 hours. So we'll be doing that, see who drops in, see who's going to take part. But until then, I think we're going to call it a day there. Say thank you very much to everybody. We had 7 people at one point. We've lost Steve, we've lost Ash, but thank you to everyone for sticking around to the end. Austin, Charlie, A, Sam, gentlemen, it's been an absolute pleasure. Come on, you
Stuart,
Spurs.
thanks for hosting it. It's been good. Nice to see you all.
Anytime. See you guys.
Yeah, man, thanks.